A White House deal is taking shape in East Texas. Today in Anderson County, commissioners heard from the developers of a natural gas power plant. It was announced last month by President Trump as part of a U.S.-Japan trade deal. The plant will set here at the intersection of Farm to Market Road 2706 and FM 321. KLTV7's J.D. Conti has more on what could be the largest natural gas plant in the country.
Standing room only in Commissioner's Court.
Questions that we had are the same questions that a lot of the people from Anderson County and the surrounding areas, especially about our groundwater.
NextEra Energy is planning a $16 billion investment in Anderson County. Developers say the natural gas plant will create 100 permanent jobs, with 3,000 during construction. The plant will be air-cooled, but will still have water demands.
We are looking at reclaimed water, surface waters, and other options as alternatives to groundwater.
The project is still in its study phase. There's no estimate on how much water the plant would need. County Judge Kerry McKinney says the project is promising, but protecting groundwater is a must.
We're working with the groundwater district to try to put production limits in place.
Something residents say is paramount.
I don't want them using groundwater and drying up my spring.
The plant will produce up to 5.2 gigawatts of energy. NextEra says that power will help support the Texas grid, and it's capable of powering 2 cities the size of Dallas. NextEra says there is a possibility the plant could support an industrial site,
which could include data centers. I want to be very upfront about that.
There's no plans for any such development right now. There's also a question on taxes.
Is this going to be a tax-exempt entity?
Several county officials raised that question. Since the federal government project, officials wondered whether the county could tax it. NextEra says they're still asking the Department of Commerce.
Our commitment in pushing with them is that we need to be able to communicate what that looks like for this community as soon as we can.
I've got more questions now than I did when I come into the meeting.
That's Eddie Crockett, the chief of the Tennessee Colony Volunteer Fire Department.
And we're getting over 1,300 acres of solar farms out there. Plus, we've got 5 major gas plants or more right there in that neighborhood to go along with this gas generating plant.
He says he'll need more firefighters, paid ones, if this project comes in. In their presentation, NextEra says they're planning on meeting with local teams, along with providing gear and training.
They can throw all the money at me that they want, but I can't hire people.
J.D. Conti, KLTV 7 News.
Developers are hoping Phase 1 will be online by 2028. They are planning on holding more presentations as the project moves forward.